Right, I'm calling to order the Board of Public Works for the City of Menasha. Clerk Aliazi, can you please take roll?
Alderman Ted Grady.
Here.
Alderman Rapella.
Here.
Alderman Taylor. Alderman Sevenick.
Here.
Alderman Langdon. Alderman Kruger.
Here.
Alderman Tom Grady.
Here.
Alderman Nichols is absent.
Okay, the first item up on the agenda is the minutes to approve from July 16th, 2018. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Alderman Ted Grady.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works from July 16th, 2018.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Alderman Tom Grady. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are accepted. Going on to communications, we have one communication this evening for the traffic calming policy that was approved by the Common Council on December 18th, 2017. Is there a motion to accept the communication? Alderman Ted Grady.
I'll make the motion to the council to accept the communication of the traffic calming policy approved by the Common Council on 12/18/2017.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, we have a second by Alderman Langdon. Any discussion? Alderman Sevenick.
Yeah, why is this appearing all of a sudden when it was, yeah, I don't understand why we're reapproving. It doesn't make sense. This was,
No, it's
Just
not, it wasn't reapproving it, Alderman Sevenick. I asked for it to be put on the agenda because it relates directly with item number 6. That way the council had the information.
wait a minute, then I'd ask the clerk to reread the motion. There was a motion just made.
That's to approve it.
No, to accept it.
What was the motion was to accept the communication.
Okay,
It's already accepted.
why are we doing it again?
Correct, Alderman Grady?
This is a new council. Correct, that's right.
Are we doing it because we
To-
have,
To accept the communication.
Motion to accept the communication.
Yep. Alderman Langdon, is that correct?
Yep.
Do you have any more discussion, Alderman Sevenick? Okay.
I disagree with this policy. I'll tell you why. What is being put before us is we're being asked to approve something that, in all fairness, says it has to be this way or that way and nothing in between. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to traffic, when it comes to our neighborhoods, they're always different. There's always a different situation. And that could be a number of things. An example, a bridge with a roundabout. It could be what's going to be discussed later on tonight with the Loop the Lake project. It could be a main street, a busy area of a downtown compared to a dead-end street. So my feeling is that if we accept this, we're just basically giving consent that, yeah, we're never going to look at these issues dead on because we have these set of standards. And I believe that, and very strongly, that we have to look at these individually all the time out of fairness, not only to ourselves, but to our constituents who may view things differently, and give them an opportunity to understand why we like to use these traffic calming policies. So I'm not in favor of this at this point. I think what we've been doing for the past 100-something years has been working, and that is us. We make that final decision, and that it shouldn't be a decision of the Department of Public Works, but ours. So I'm not going to be in favor of this. I understand it. I believe in it to a greater extent, but I still think that we need to keep an open mind.
I'm just going to remind or update the boards. There were some members that were not here This traffic calming policy was actually adopted last year. It ran through Public Works. It was discussed for over 22 minutes. It was passed 8-0. It got brought up onto the council and was passed again at 8-0. That the calming policy has strictly to do with anything having to do with traffic calming, including stop signs, yield signs, and stuff like that. It was thought that we needed some sort of policy instead of just having stop signs being put in at whim, that we had a policy that we would follow on procedures to determine whether or not a stop sign, yield sign, or what was the appropriate traffic calming mechanism that would be used in any area of concern. And that's all the policy was, and that's why it is in the packet. Alderman Severnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yes, they were approved, and I made the motion, but they were made through the consent agenda. And that's why, if you've noticed over the past few months, that I've been separating things so that we can take individual votes on matters, because they're always, we just should not be rubber stamping stuff. I think we need to look at these things one by one.
Alderman Taylor.
Thank you. Tonight we approved alternative 4 that didn't have any study on it, that didn't have to go through this traffic calming policy. It was just given to us and vote on it. So we're using this tool when we want to. I also asked for that we need an island on the corner of Milwaukee and Main Street. I asked the director, Ramadowski. He said we didn't need one. Didn't go to any committee, didn't go to any policy. So we're kind of only using it when certain people want to use it. And that's not a good tool. If we're going to have a tool, it should be used effectively for everybody. And the Broad Street residents didn't get to have that.
Again, I'm going to stress that this policy is strictly having to do with signs and traffic calming mechanisms. It doesn't have anything to do with anything else. It was a protocol for signs, yield signs, and stuff like that. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? See none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Have the record reflect Alderman Severnick and Alderman Taylor. Okay, we'll have a roll call then.
Motion carries on roll call 4-3.
Okay, moving on to discussion items. The first one on the agenda is the street use application for the Labor Day Parade Labor Temple Co-op Association. That'll be Monday, September 3rd, 2018 at 9:30 a.m. through 11 o'clock a.m. The Fox Valley Area Labor Council. Is there a motion? Alderman Taylor.
I'll make a motion for this item, street use application, as read by Chairman Kruger.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Tom Grady. Is there any discussion? See none, can we take a roll call?
Motion carried on roll call 7-0.
Moving on to discussion action item number 2 is the street use application for Bazaar After Dark, Wednesday, September 12th, 2018, 12 noon to 11 o'clock p.m. Pulse Young Professionals, Fox Cities Chamber of Commerce. Is there a motion? Alderman Taylor.
I'll make a motion to approve street use application as read by Chairman Kruger.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Alderman Ted Grady. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, can we have a roll call?
Motion carried on roll call 7-0.
Moving on to action discussion item number 3 is the payment to MMC Incorporated Contract Unit Number 2018-2, new street construction and street reconstruction in various streets for $140,808.06, payment number 1. Engineering Supervisor Gordon, could you please update us on that?
Thank you, Alderman Kruger. This payment is in regards to contract 2018-02. Right now, the work on Alva and Ida Streets have been completed. First Street, it is anticipated at some point this week that they will be starting on that. It is also anticipated possibly next week sometime, the subdivision portion of that contract, the pond subdivision phase 1 would be started potentially next week.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Alderman Taylor.
I'll make a motion to approve payment MCC Incorporated as read by Alderman Kruger.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Ted Grady. Is there any discussion? Alderman Ted Grady.
I just have a question as to timeline and how do you feel this will be completed?
As far as the final completion, we have, I believe
Yep.
it's an October 26th completion date.
Okay.
The subdivision area there, that's probably going to be close, towards the end of that project. First Street, if they come through this week, maybe a week and a half worth of grading work, another couple days worth of manhole prep work and paving, so a week and a half,
Okay, good.
probably approximately 2 weeks maybe, depending on weather.
Thank you.
I will mention too, on the subdivision portion, they've indicated to us that they're going to do that in halves. Typically in the past, we've gone through and pulverized the whole subdivision and more or less tore up the whole subdivision, and then they work in different sections. They're gonna come in and do the southern half of that first, try to get that as close as they can to completion before they go in and pulverize the northern section. So even though the residents, there might be some overlap in those work efforts, it sounds like they're gonna try to limit the exposure to people on that.
Alderman Langdon.
Thank you. Number 27, I was just curious what the water valve adjustment is exactly.
We have it broke out with water valve adjustments and then utility adjustments. Typically, utility adjustments are manholes, catch basins, things of that nature. A little more involved when it comes to adjusting those items. Water valve adjustments, we have it spelled out in the specifications that if they can turn a water valve, typically they can turn those. There's threads on those, they can turn them up. Or if they can put a quick raise right ring on there, we typically do not pay for those items. But if for some reason they have to dig down to get at a piece that's broken or because things don't turn up and they cannot adjust it,
Is that
that's
like,
when we will pay for that.
okay, is that like the valve sticking up out of the ground? That stick up out of the ground?
Typically, these are like a 6-inch size, diameter size out in the street.
Oh,
The
I
ones
got
you're
one of
referring
those
to
too,
are
yeah.
going to be your curb stops. Those are private water services.
Okay,
Those are contractors typically don't handle. Water utility deals with those.
okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, can we take a roll call, please?
Motion carried on roll call, 7-0.
Item number 4 is the payment to Pfeiffer Brothers Construction Incorporated, contract unit number 2017-4, the Fox River Loop the Lake Bridge Crossing for $162,220.24, payment number 8. Director Tunge, I believe you'd be the proper one for this one.
Could I defer to Corey over here? I think he's the one who put the form together here and knows the numbers a little better than I do.
Not a problem. Engineering Supervisor Gordon.
What we have here is payment number 8 for our portion of the Loop the Lake project. What we have in there, previously change order number 6 was approved, and we had not paid for that, so we paid for that as part of this contract. We also had a significant amount of retainage out previously on this project. I believe it was around $35,000. The project is more or less wrapped up at this point. There's a few change order things potentially coming and then final payment. So that's why the retainage has been reduced to $5,000 as we finish up the punch list item, the corrective actions that the contractor was asked to do.
Thank you. Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of questions. First of all, the canopy issue, when it first opened, there was no badge on the canopy. And if I recall, when we finally decided that we were going to go with a canopy, we had to come up with a funding to do that. And then, of course, we changed, we wanted it to be blue. But now there's a badge on that particular building indicating almost as though they paid for it. So I'm a little concerned about that. If anything, it should say the taxpayers of the city of Menasha. So I think I'm gonna have to ask Brian. I can see squirming. He don't really want to answer this question, but I have some small issues with that badge being up there when we were asked, we have to make a decision within this month because otherwise we're pulling our equipment out. And so we found the additional funding for this. It was us, the community, the taxpayers that paid for that canopy.
Director Tungate.
So, just to refresh memories a little bit, Pfeiffer, Mike and Mona Pfeiffer gave, I believe, I don't know, John, $20,000, donation. And so similarly to some of the other sponsorships that received signage along, the bridges, this was determined that this is how we were going to, recognize that significant donation.
Okay,
By
that I
Pfeiffer.
accept, and that was the right answer for me to hear. If I had not heard that, I would have asked for that badge to be taken off. So that is, I'm good with that then.
All right. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion? Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Chair. I'll move for payment to Pfeiffer Brothers Construction Contract Unit 2017-04, the Fox River Loop the Lake Bridge Crossing in the amount of $162,220.24, this being payment number 8.
We have a motion and a second by Alderman Ted Grady. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
Motion carried on roll call 7-0.
Moving on to action item number 5 is the Main Street Fountain Report and recommendation from Director Tungate. Could you please take the helm?
Yeah, thank you, Alderman Kruger. I'll give you a brief summary of what's contained in the memo that was sent to the council. Back in June, the Common Council had asked staff to take a look at repairing the existing fountain. And we did that, but also looked at some other options, because what we really found looking at the existing fountain was there was a cracked housing to that fountain that was plastic, and it just, it's 25 or so years old, and it's just kind of showing its age a little bit. And so option 1, we found out, yes, we could make some repairs to that existing fountain. Bear in mind that the lighting system there is incandescent, and it's kind of an older lighting system there. And so we are not necessarily recommending option 1. You see there the cost is about $4,500 for option 1. Option 2 and 3 are things you could look at, the carved stone creation option, you end up with sort of, they suggested a light pattern inwards. I think that's photo maybe number 3 that you have in your packet. It's a little different design, but as you can see there, also on the expensive side. Option 3 is from the company that provided the plastic fountain that you have there now, Lake and Pond Solutions. And so they have some very nice equipment, and they are willing to work with us on coming up with an option that would look very similar to the original fountain pattern, but again, a little on the expensive side. Option 4 is you would end up with a spray pattern that's very similar to option 3, again looking quite similar to the original spray pattern. And I guess, you know, we have a pretty talented crew led by Adam Alex and company, and so they believe that they can actually build this fountain. It requires a pump and a head and a variable speed control and stainless steel mounting plate, et cetera, that's listed there, and it really is quite simple the way it's been explained to me. And Adam is here tonight to answer any more detailed questions, but that is the option that we would recommend. I think in the end, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get a nice spray pattern. There's a photo in your packet that shows that pattern. It's, I think, taller than the pattern that was there. It's a little narrower, but it would come with a, you know, we would put together an LED colored light package on there, and I think you'll end up really liking that option. And so down in the recommendation, it talks about, we kind of do this in a couple steps. We'd end up, you know, getting the pump, the fountain head, the variable speed control, the stainless steel lighting plate, you know, kind of get that put together in a, you know, 2 or 3 weeks, and then we could potentially get the speed control and LED package. You know, we could budget for that and put that in the winter, and then next spring put the fountain back in. It would have the light package on it. So, you know, I guess we recommended that, and to just recognize that yes, we are bumping up against you know, the budgeted dollars that we have for this. So we didn't want to go over that to any great extent. So. If you have any questions, you know, Adam's probably the guy who's best equipped to answer any detailed questions, but that's kind of the summary in a nutshell.
Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Adam got the mic. Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay. What would we plan to do with the old, I shouldn't say old, the new plastic?
We have reached out and talked with, what is it, Lake Ponds Solutions, who sold it to us.
Right.
He's confident that he could resell it. The value of what it would be in trade, we're not exactly sure. He could help us out with getting the pump, but that's an option. That would then obviously, you know, that those funds would be able to be used on this new one. But
Okay.
there was talk of potentially using it elsewhere. The old duck pond on Anna came up, but I think it'd be probably too small. That pond's quite a bit bigger.
Sure.
So that's why I think we were exploring the possibility of trading it in. So.
Okay. Well, I like the recommendation. I also like the idea of going to the LED, but I don't like the idea of next spring. I want it done within the next few weeks here. I mean, we talked about this months ago already, and I think I don't want to put you behind the 8 ball here, but this is, I think, pretty important to the community. Listen, when things weren't going for Menasha, the fountain did spur on our community. It really did. And a lot of thanks to Alderman Taylor. He really worked hard on this in the past, you know, with staff and putting this together and having the ceremony. I still have it on video, old video, when we had this. James didn't have any gray hair either at the time, so. But anyways, I hope the rest of council feels the same way. I'll make a motion. This will be, hopefully, the city attorney will be able to get this unless someone else wants to speak, but they can even after the motion. But I think option 4 is the best option. Let's move forward and let's also do the LED lights and let's get it installed within the next few weeks here.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Alderman Taylor. Is there more discussion? Alderman Langdon.
Excuse me. I'm not sure, I just want to make sure, Adam, I was with you last week on some discussions, and I think that the couple issues that I have outweigh this fountain. I was just wondering if the time commitment, would you still, I know you talked about where you're at and time, would my agendas still be able to get done?
In regards to some of that asphalt work, yeah, not a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah,
This would
okay.
be unrelated, it wouldn't affect that at all.
Okay, thank you.
Really quick, Brian, if you could explain, you mentioned that the budget doesn't allow for the LED lights right now. Can you explain if this motion went through where the extra money would be taken from in order to complete this project on time?
I honestly can't tell you where that would come right now. We would try to come up with something, but right now, that would just be, if we went ahead with this, it would be over the $4,000 budget. You know, hopefully, the exchange of the other fountain, you know, that'll help our bottom line a little bit, but I think you're still gonna be over the 4,000.
How about how much would the city be short on this project if passed right now? Go ahead.
On the overall department budget, this is in the operating budget for the park department. There was savings because we did have two employees that left unexpectedly during this calendar year. So, and we have refilled it a little bit of the time, reallocated some duties among a couple other employees in the Public Works Department to help out in the meantime. So there is going to be staffing, wages, and fringe benefits that are going to be unfilled this year. So we could easily absorb another couple $1,000s here to finish this project yet this year within budget and the overall department's budget. So if you're looking line by line item, this one line item will go over, but the thing is you've got way more, a couple thousands of dollars there of savings that are going to be materialized in this calendar year yet.
Thank you. Alderman Taylor.
Thank you. The last time we redid Main Street is when we put this fountain in, so it's kind of a full circle here that we just redid Main Street and we would make a change to this fountain. I certainly would like to see this smaller fountain that we have go into Smith Park between the two bridges. I think it'd be very fitting for the setting over there for both the Isle of Valor and for the Smith Park setting. So I think it would be just add another unique element to that small basin between the two bridges. The original fountain, when I saw it, was in Chilton, and earlier tonight, Director Tunkgate showed me a picture of Chilton that changed theirs to this picture in item 4. So looks like we're following the city of Chilton, but they have the same base and the same setup. When we had this whole process, they gave us their drawings and everything, saved us $2,500. And when we bought this fountain last time, it was $10,000. So prices have come down, which is nice. And all I'm saying is that I want the quality of the lighting and the quality of the fountain as we've had throughout the last 20-some years. So we got to change with technology.
The LED should save us some money.
Yeah, and the LED, of course, would save us money. We got to stay with technology. Thank you.
Alderman Rapala.
Thank you very much, Alderman Kruger. Did I press this?
Nope.
No, okay. Good. I know Alderman Sevenick had mentioned a time frame as far as getting this fountain done. We have the Bazaar After Dark, September 12th, and that'd be a great time that it was completed on the 11th. So, you're on the clock. You got about 30 days. So,
Give us a date. Does he have a feel? Ask him if he has a feel.
yeah, do you have a feel on when that could be done? September 11th would be probably the latest date we'd like it done?
What I can tell you is the Fountainhead, I think it's a week lead time. The pump is, there's two of them down in Milwaukee. We can have them next day shipped here, and then it'd be just a matter of the lights. Brian Hazley and I have already started looking at a light package and a control package for them, so I think it's doable.
Fantastic, Adam. That's awesome. Thank you. You'll get a gold star.
All right, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, can we take a roll call vote?
Motion carried on roll call, 7-0.
Moving on to the last item, item number 6 is ordinance, an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Article B of the Code of Ordinances, four-way stop, Fox Street and Matheson Street, by Alderman Sevenick. And I will let Alderman Sevenick take the realm from here to explain it.
Okay. Well, my main purpose of doing this is to get something done. And I'm glad that I caused all the concern in the community about not following certain guidelines. Guess I gotta be honest about it, because if I hadn't done this, I think it'd be several weeks before anything gets done. I agree with what staff is saying, is that there are many other options for us here. My thing is, if we don't do any of these options, this is what I'm gonna push for. So, I think Alderman, I saw an email from I believe it was, I know the chief was one, and I forget who Tim Montour. And, you know, the chief, the sign that you and I worked on getting the yield ones, I still say we should look in our budget and get one of those quickly in the meantime to kind of take care of this situation. It was probably now 3 weeks ago that I saw a lady come off extremely quick. She was probably in her 70s, riding her bike, and hit that curb section there. And as you all know, I believe, we have now corrected that, although it took 3 weeks to paint it. And I thank the mayor for going over there and with staff and working out things. But I think we need to really, there's concern about a possible study, and I think the whole thing needs to be studied. As the Secretary of, when she came to visit on the Loop the Lake, the Secretary of Tourism stated, we are now having, this Loop the Lake project is not just a few thousand people using it, but hundreds of thousands, even though it's some of us repeatedly using it, but that's a lot of traffic. One thing I've noticed when I've been on it is that the bike traffic has probably increased tenfold. And I think it's because it's a longer loop and it's probably more difficult for most people to walk it, but to bike it, they want to experience it. Coming off the bridge, it is extremely steep and the bikes come down quite quick. And like I said, the lady hit that curb. We've corrected that. We need to figure out a better way of both pedestrians and vehicle traffic understanding one another at that four-way stop or intersection. So my point is this, is that I'm going to push for this ordinance because I think it is one of those unique situations now that we have hundreds of thousands of people using this and a lot of bike traffic. You know, kids do not stop at stop signs. And they're gonna zip through there, and I'm very concerned. And I think there's a lot of things we can do. I know that our Public Works Department is extremely talented when it comes to thinking outside the box and doing things different. And I believe we could do things with paint, and we could do things with reflection, and we can do things with signs. So I hope that that's the step we take. I will ask that this ordinance be moved forward to our next meeting so that at least I understand and that we get everyone on board of taking this intersection serious. I seriously believe that if we don't do something very quickly, that someone's going to get injured or killed there. And I've had 2 people contact me, and that's only 2, that have witnessed near accidents. So they want to see that controlled in a way that's respectful of the people who use it and the people who use the roads.
I'd just like to comment on the person who hit the curb. The person did go diagonally across the street in defiance of safe traffic laws, so I did want people to know that it wasn't being used correctly, and that was why the person hit the curb. We did recently just get some traffic counts of the trail itself. In the city of Neenah, they did put up some infrared counters. We're looking at about 700 people a day on the Neenah Bridge and on the Slough Bridge, about 400 people a day on Lake Street at the entrance of Fritzie Park, and about 1,000 people a day on the Trestle Trail. So just for comparison, I guess.
All right, is there any more discussion? Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to agree with what the mayor's saying is that, yes, that's the problem we're having right now. People are coming off that bridge and then cutting right straight across. Now, we either design it that it does that, or we design it where we put those lines and arrows indicating this is the route, because otherwise we're just waiting for an accident to happen.
I'm just going to make a quick comment. I have an issue with the four-way stop for several reasons. I don't mind advancing stuff as long as it follows the what we voted on in the past. I mean, we did vote on a protocol for installing stop signs and yield signs. And if we're not going to follow our own protocols that we just passed 8 months ago, then we're not doing too much up here. And I actually did look it up in the DOT, the state of Wisconsin DOT, and they do have recommendations for these exact situations too. And the exact situations, they do not recommend stopping the traffic on the road. They actually recommend putting up stop signs on the trails for the bikes, because they do stress that bicyclists have to obey the same laws as cars do. Usually when there's an issue, and the issue seems to be with the speed of the bikes and not stopping near the curb or slowing down, you don't penalize the other half. You actually go after the actual issue itself. And I sat out there for several hours today, and I did see quite a few bikes going down. Some of them were going a little bit fast, but the ones that were coming off the bridge did slow down, and they actually looked both ways before they crossed the street. I also experienced, I took off my shoes to count all my toes and all that with all the vehicles, and there was 2.5 vehicles an hour that went by on that intersection. So I do believe that a traffic study is appropriate. I believe that we should be putting a stop sign on the trail, do the traffic study, and if it justifies the stop signs, then I have no issue with the stop signs then. But I'm not in favor for just putting up stop signs and advancing this as putting up stop signs. Is there any other discussion? Alderman Taylor.
Thank you. You know, this situation is unusual compared to the rest of the city. And we heard the mayor with the traffic counts, and when we put the Loop to Lake together, the projections was 350,000 pedestrians a year. Where else would we have 350,000 people entering an intersection? And if you haven't ridden your bike, if you just want to sit there and look at it, go and ride your bike. I don't think any of us thought the bridge was going to be that high and that downgrade was that steep. And when you're riding your bike down it, everything's coming up really fast. You have to make a turn to the right a little bit. You're looking both ways. There's a lot going on, and then you're entering at other pedestrians are around. So it really is a unique situation. I think there should be signage on the bridge that, Adam, that there's a downgrade that you're approaching. And I think there should be a sign that says slow ahead and then a downgrade, just like we do in the, with steep hills for roads. I think we should teach, everybody knows what that would mean. So I appreciate the Public Works getting out there and striping, putting some orange paint on there to help highlight certain areas. Because right now everything blends in. It's all new concrete, and you don't see the curbs, and it just, and like I said, everything's happening so fast. So it's gonna, and if it happen, it's gonna happen again and again and again. The measures for this, I think, should be extreme, and it should be everybody stops, all four ways, always lean towards the side of safety. And if this happened in private industry, when something happens, everything stops right then and there. A team comes out, they assess it, and they make changes immediately to it. And I had asked for a traffic cone for pedestrian, and I was surprised that we don't have any extra one. And I don't want to remove any from any other situation that we have. So we should have a couple extra on hands. I noticed during festivals, we could use them too. So we should have a couple of those extra on hand. And pretty much common sense, let's vote on the side of safety. I had asked for a traffic study, and I was informed by Public Works that Chairman Kruger would not allow it on the agenda because Alderman Nichols was going to be absent. But then this appears on the agenda, and I certainly hope that it's not favoritism or something, because it's.
Alderman Taylor, it was not favoritism. This was an ordinance put onto the agenda. What you asked for was a traffic study in another alderman's district. And out of courtesy, I wanted that alderman here to sit there and be part of the discussion, the same that you would be asking if someone did this with you and you were not present. That's all it was. There was no favoritism.
It was the same thing. You're putting up 4 stop signs. That's in her district too. So it's definitely, there's an issue there. And for the safety of the public, that's why we're up here. That's why we took an oath of office. Let's treat everybody equally.
Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Alderman Kruger, for your favoritism. No, I'm just kidding. No, actually, on the record, I had called the city attorney, and the city attorney, I was going to ask to have this placed on the agenda, and she said she would have it placed for me. So that's how it appeared.
I will call her next time.
You know, I know where the power is, so I decided to call her. So, no, but anyways, so I think really we can talk about signs. Signs never, you know, like you said, they're zipping by. They may not see that, and that's why I'm asking Public Works to look at other possibilities. Like again, I'm going to reemphasize painting, some kind of caution paints on the sidewalk itself. In the crossways, the directions they need to take. But if nothing is done and no one does anything, well, then I'm going to ask for the 4-way stop. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion to move forward 015 18 to the Common Council for the next meeting.
We have a motion and a second by Alderman Taylor. Discussion, Alderman Taylor.
I just want to say that when we have some extreme issues with these 350,000 people, we did something very unique downtown. We have a lot of pedestrians crossing. We have a mid-block crosswalk, and we put up flashing lights because of the necessity. It was necessary to help provide extra safety for all those office people in the mid-block. So that kind of goes against, I think, any book too, to have a mid-block crossing. But we took extra measures to help make it safe for those people, and we need to do that down here too.
Alderman Rapala.
Thank you, Alderman Krieger. I kind of piggyback Alderman Sevenick, paint and maybe even some speed bumps for the bicycles. Just
On a bike?
I mean,
They'll be airborne.
that's just a thought. I mean, they work other places, so that rather than some stop signs for the bicycles to stop, because those kids have a difficult time reading those signs or even following those rules. So that's it. Thank you.
Alderman Taylor.
I just encourage everybody to ride their bike down it and experience it. It's definitely a situation that needs to be addressed.
Any more discussion? I will just state I will be voting against this because I do believe that we need to start following the protocols that we set forward as a council. So with no more discussion, if we can have roll call, please.
I'm kind of confused here.
Motion carried on roll call, 5-2.
Okay, last up is adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Ted Grady. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Broadcasts of the City of Menasha Administration Committee, Board of Public Works, and Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Menasha residents and interested parties can obtain information about these meetings and meeting agendas from the city website, www.cityofmenasha-wi.gov. Expression of opinions regarding City of Menasha issues or about these broadcasts can be made by contacting the mayor's office, 920-967-3600, contacting their city alderman. Contact information appears on the website. Completing the electronic feedback form on the website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.